Hi, Joseph Fink here. We decided to unlock the Patreon-only Middlest episode for The Sopranos so that all of you on the regular feed can hear what these episodes sound like. If this kind of episode is enjoyable for you, you can get one for every single show we cover for $5 a month. That also gets you completely ad-free versions of the main episodes. So we hope to join you there. We hope to join you. I hope you join us there. It's a fun little community. You can ask questions that we then answer on the Middlest, and it helps us make this show, which is very close to breaking even, ? All right, enjoy the Middlest for The Sopranos.
Hello and welcome to The Middlest, our Patreon-only show where we talk about the episode with the exact middle user rating because we want to see what this show looks like at its exact average, because every show has its highs and its lows but spends most of its time in that big middle.
Let us know if you want. I'm a big middle. Shirts big. I identify as big middle. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll figure
I'm
out the merch.
exactly average.
The big middle for this show is season 5, episode 4, All Happy Families.
All Happy Families. The description synopsis of which is: Feach makes a pain of himself by trying to return to his past glory. Carmela tries to work with Anthony's teacher to rein in their out-of-control son.
Actually, now that I think about it, if we ever have a big enough audience to do merch, I think it's, is it bad or do they just hate women?
Yeah.
Is the shirt. All Happy Families was definitely a middle episode of TV. It felt, as far as The Sopranos go, pretty much exactly average. I think the IMDb users really nailed that one.
Yeah.
So we have Feach, who is kind of just an older mobster. His heyday was a long time ago. He's been in prison for a long time. He is now out on parole and wants back in. Tony finds him super annoying. He also hates Tony because Tony once robbed his card game.
And also Tony is, like, compared to Feach, Tony's a kid. So he still views him as a kid and not as the boss. And so it's hard for him to have that respect for him. Whereas all of the other guys respect Tony and show him all sorts of deference and maybe a little bit, put a little bit on for him. Whereas Feach doesn't do that.
Yeah, this is a major theme of this episode because there's a point. This is when Tony and Carm are still separated and they're arguing, and he gets very upset when Carmela correctly points out to him that he has no friends. He has people who suck up to him and who are afraid of him, but there is no one who is on the same level as him and can have a real friendship.
Yeah, and Feach does not show him the same sort of fealty that Polly Walnuts does, that Silvio Dante does, that all of his other sort of flunkies do. And Tony never realized it until until Carmela says it in season 5?
Yeah, and I think he gets really pissed because he realizes she's right, and that makes him very upset.
Yeah. Season 4. When is this episode?
This is season 5. This is the same. This is only like 8 episodes before long-term parking.
Yeah.
So we're in kind of the same plot line.
Yes.
Steve Buscemi, as we now know he's called, is around doing stuff. I don't think we have anything about Adriana and the FBI in this episode. I think that plot line was kind of quiet, but yeah. It definitely was happening at this point.
It's an AJ heavy episode.
Yeah, so there's a heavy plot line of, we start with AJ learning to drive by like screeching the car up and down their big Jabampi driveway. We should explain. Can you explain the word Jabampi, please?
Jabampi is not a real word. I don't even know if it's a word used by anyone other than me and my friend's mom and now her family. But Jabampi is just like a Cadillac Escalade is a Jabampi car. All right.
Like a McMansion is a Jabampi house.
A McMansion is a Jabampi house.
I've started to use it because it is an incredibly useful word. Once you know the word Jabampi, you will see Jabampi in the world so much, and you'll be like, what else would I call that? But Jabampi.
I often use that word in a parking lot where I'm like, oh, I can't get in because you parked your big Jabampi car across 2 spots.
Anyway, so that's just, now you have that word. It's a very useful one, and I hope you use it and spread it, and it becomes just common knowledge until the person who invented it is very confused that people know their word. What were we talking about? Oh, he was driving up and down their big Jabampi driveway.
Driving up and down their big Jabampi driveway and their big Jabampi house. And yes, and he's having some trouble at school.
Yeah, he is getting terrible grades. He is doing very bad. He did very badly on the SAT.
The counselor calls him in with a meeting with the parents so that they can talk about what his plans for college are.
And then kind of The Sopranos, I think one of the things I struggle with is it is often very heavy-handed. And so they do the heavy-handed thing where while they're waiting in the waiting room, Tony, Carmen, AJ, the kid before him, the counselor is like walking out being like, your SAT scores are the highest I've ever seen and your grades are perfect. You have your pick of colleges. And then they meet with AJ and he's like, have you thought about not going to college?
Yeah. And then they walk out of that meeting and they find out that a girl in the high school or a kid in the high school had been killed in a car accident.
In a plot line that doesn't really go anywhere.
Other than it is the justification for Tony buying him an SUV because it's like, there's no way if he ran into a tree in this thing, it would kill him.
Yeah, there's kind of this push and pull where I think this is a common dynamic after a divorce. Neither of us have divorced parents, and we are not currently divorced. So I'm not. I don't have firsthand experience of this, but I think there is a common dynamic of one of the parents ends up feeling like they have to be the bad guy, and very much Carm is the one having to enforce discipline, and Tony gets to be the fun dad who just buys him a car even after he's in this episode. He also like lies to Carmela. She agrees to let him go to the city to see Mudvayne, a band I have not thought about in 30 years, as long as he stays at Meadows' house. Meadow is, I believe, going to NYU. Is that right?
Meadow goes to Columbia, Joseph. Come on.
Excuse me. I am not East Coast enough to even know what the reputational difference is between NYU and Columbia. They both seem like fancy New York schools to me. But he does not go to his sister's apartment. He instead shares a hotel room with his friends, and they do drugs and watch porn together. Not a thing I ever did with my friends. It feels like an uncomfortable thing to do personally, is watching porn with people you don't plan to have sex with. I don't know. And he gets super drunk, and Carmela and Tony find out.
His friends also draw on him with Sharpie and shave his eyebrows off and glue his face to the carpet, which, great.
Yeah. This all ends with Carmela finally making Tony take AJ in. She's like, listen, I am not going to be the enforcer anymore, and I'm also not going to be the one that AJ gets to take out all his anger on, so he's going to go live with you. And Tony is like so not used to having to be a dad that he's like, he like very much plays it. He's like, all right, Carm, but like seriously, what are we going to do? Because it's just like the idea that he might have to be a father is not one that even like penetrates that skull. But AJ does move in with Tony and gets to join in his lifestyle of like sitting on a lazy boy and watching TV is mainly what Tony does.
Yeah. Other when he's not playing high stakes poker.
Oh yeah. So let's get back to meanwhile in Feachland. What's going on with him?
So Feach has his poker game. They make a deal where he's allowed to take over the poker game, and then we see a couple of the poker games happening. And Tony says, "Okay, Feach, you can have the poker game. You got to rent from me, and I'll send some of my friends your way." And so we see a couple hands of poker. Lawrence Taylor is there.
David Lee Roth at one point is in there. There's like some famous people. The only one I've heard of is David Lee Roth. I wouldn't have recognized him without knowing that it was him. But it's like a number. There's like, I think, a famous sports person there.
Yeah, Lawrence Taylor.
Oh, okay.
LT.
There's also like some famous actors.
That's David Lee Roth, and there's Bernie Brillstein, who worked with Brad Gray, who's a producer of the show. They were producing partners together before The Sopranos. So yeah, Bernie Brillstein is there. Then there's a guy who's one of Hash's friends, who is talking about a wedding that he's about to have, and Feach uses the information about this big expensive wedding to go there and hit the wedding and steal all the luxury cars from the wedding.
And it's like very clearly an organized crime operation because they straight up bring like car carrier big rigs to do it. Like it is a big scaled, very organized operation that is so clearly a mob thing.
And so it reeks of the fact that Feach was responsible for this.
And so the guy is like, his whole family is pissed at him because they're very expensive cars.
So he goes to Tony and is like, what the fuck? Can you help me out here? Get this one car back. And so he goes to Feach about it. And then they have like a bit of a fight there.
Well, because also Tony then finds out that Feach did not, because he's just like, well, let me call my like car guys that everyone sells to. And that's when he finds out that Feach not only did this,
didn't cut him in on it.
He didn't take him to any of the New Jersey guys. He took him to a New York car like turnover guy, which at that point, that's like, as we know, if you don't show respect to Tony, that is the ultimate thing for him. Like at that point, you're dead to him.
Yeah, but he shows him, Tony shows Feach some mercy and doesn't kill him. He just has Christopher and the guy from the Wonder Years set him up to get parole violated.
Christopher, I have to say, respect to Christopher, he does a very good job playing that situation. So he has to like make the guy hold stolen goods, but make it think as he was his idea. And Christopher plays it very well of like hanging out and just, oops, I brought up that I have these stolen goods I don't know what to do with. And Feach is like, let me hold them. And Christopher's like, no, of course I can't let you do that. Obviously I can't let you. And like makes Feach convince him. Christopher, I'm very impressed with how he plays that situation. He manipulates him very well.
Yeah.
And then they bring like in a crooked parole guy who they tip off, and Feach gets sent back to prison and is never seen in The Sopranos again.
Yeah.
That's a wrap on Feach. But yeah, he said Tony, out of, I think, respect, because Feach was a friend of his father's and is like well liked, he decides not to kill him and instead just has him sent back to prison. There's actually a very revealing moment where Syl is like, are you going to kill him? He's very well liked. And Tony's response is like, and that's another thing. Like, it's not just that he's showing disrespect and that he did this operation without permission. It's because he's well liked and Tony is realizing he's not liked. He's just feared.
That's the Middlest episode. Any other observations you care to speak of?
Let me see. I have some notes. I wrote shocking murder scene. I'll be honest, I don't even remember what that was.
It's the murder scene at the top where
Oh, right. That's brutal.
Yeah.
And also, the first 10 seconds, I thought that was Lorraine Bracco, and I was very confused why Melfi was being killed. I figured it out. But there's like a woman who's showering, and then so there's like a naked woman. She walks out. There's a guy there. He chases her down. She sees that he's already killed her husband, and then he stabs her to death. And it's like truly a shockingly violent moment that starts everything up. This is all related to the New York, New Jersey war that is starting to brew and becomes the rest of the show.
only episode of the 3 that we watched that Meadow's in.
That's true. There is, along with Melfi, there is so little Meadow in the show. Once she goes to college, she's just kind of gone.
Yeah, and I will say, I'm going to get on, this is the hill that I'm willing to die on, that this is a poor choice of writing and naming this character Meadow. There is no way that someone who was born in the early 80s in North Jersey would be named Meadow. Yes, I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to show that we're not just mobsters. We're also the elite. We're also Beverly Hills. We belong there just as much as anyone else who has money. We can name our kids Meadow. They absolutely would never name her Meadow. Absolutely not. Her name is going to be Nicole. Her name is going to be Danielle. Her name is going to be Christina. Under no circumstance. I mean, maybe Ashley, if we wanted to really like show that we had money, that we were not total, greasy Italians, maybe we'd name her Ashley. But no, she is Danielle, Christina, Nicole. There is no way she is named Meadow.
I wonder if the woman who plays Meadow, you believe that, I can't find a confirmation of this, but you believe that both Meadow and AJ are played by Jewish actors.
Jamie Lynn Sigler, I believe, is Jewish. Robert Eiler, I believe, is Jewish.
I mean, those are very Jewish names.
Yes.
So an interesting thing where both the kids are played by Jews. Jamie Lynn Sigler was diagnosed, I think, quite young. I think when she was like 20 with MS. And so I wonder if that happened during the run of the show, and that is why Meadow's in it less, is she just started to physically be unable to perform as much. I don't know that for sure, but that's a possibility of why Meadows starts being barely in the show in the last couple seasons.
She was in Entourage.
Other notes I have, there is a very nice spread at the...
Yeah, there's going to be a nice spread, Joseph. If you're Italian American, there's a nice spread literally everywhere you go.
There's a nice spread at the card game. I would happily eat that spread. There's like some cold cuts.
They got some
There's
cold
like
cuts.
pasta.
They got some nice, They got some nice antipasto.
Carm
You might call it charcuterie. You'd be wrong. It's antipasto.
Carm is looking at a brochure for Botox. I feel like this is sort of the start of Botox. I think this is right when Botox was becoming a thing, at least in this country. And so, of course, Carm is like looking through the Botox.
You got to keep it tight for AJ's guidance counselor.
Oh yeah. Also, Adrian's guidance or AJ's guidance counselor invites her on a date. And they go on like this weird little awkward date.
And he tells her to read Madame Bovary, and she has to write it down.
Oh yeah. So that's sort of Tony's tragedy is that no one loves him and he is unable to love anyone. Carm's tragedy is that she wants to be intellectual and she just isn't. Carm wants to be like part of the like New York intellectual scene, but she is a fairly uneducated New Jersey mob wife and can't escape that. And so, there's this scene where he's recommending Madame Bovary to her, and she's kind of pretending to have heard of it, and she's like having to write it down. And it's just this like realization of the gap between what she wants to be and what she is.
Some would say it's part of that. It's that the viewing of that gap that maybe one of the reasons why she goes back to Tony.
Yeah, it's true. She realizes that she doesn't fit in that world. There's a very funny sequence about the Jewish accountant whose kid's wedding gets hit is talking about trying to get into the New York Times wedding section and how hard that is. We ourselves have friends who are in the New York Times wedding section. I have no idea. We could ask them how hard that was. Unclear how much lobbying they had to do. We have, in 2 of the different episodes, we have Tony's obsession with Gary Cooper and the whole idea of the strong silent type. There is actually later an episode called The Strong Silent Type, so this is kind of a continuing theme. As I said, Tony is basically Donald Trump, and so I think this is a little bit of his Make America Great Again, this idea that there used to be a time where men were men, and then it all got ruined, and, this whole idea of this imaginary America that used to be. And he's kind of distilled that down to Gary Cooper, the strong silent type. One of the fancy things in AJ's car is a 6 CD changer.
The car that AJ gets is a yellow Xterra, which there was definitely one of those in my parking lot in high school.
Remember the whole 6 CD changer in the trunk?
Yeah.
You'd load them all up.
Great.
Remember the whole idea of CD changers?
Yeah.
And you could it was like the beginning of shuffle, because you could shuffle all 6 CDs and it would be like, what's even going to come up next? Any one of these 6 CDs.
The controls for your car should be in your trunk of your car. Think about how safe that was.
Well,
they had to pull over to change it out.
Yes, but you still could change the CDs. You just couldn't change what was physically in there.
Remember how long it would take and you could hear it?
They're I never had a CD changer. No, that's not true. Did I have a 3 CD? I might have had a 3 CD changer.
Pretty
at one
sure
point.
My mom had a 6 CD changer in her trunk.
My sister's husband, for a while, I think the way that he would listen to music would be a 6 CD changer on shuffle, and that's just how he liked to do it.
Which would do 3 songs on 1 CD, and then it would clunk, 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 and then spin the CD again. So it'd be 30 seconds every time you want it switched CDs, which it would do after 3 tracks.
I have the note, and I don't even remember what this is based on. It's just Tony is basically illiterate.
Yeah.
Which again goes to my theory that Tony is Donald Trump, that he is the same guy.
Oh, for sure.
There's a very funny scene where
all of these characters in the show voted for Trump.
But more than that, they are Trump. Most of the mobsters are just indistinguishable in personality and brains and view of the world from Donald Trump.
Yeah.
There's a very funny scene in which Carm tries to impress her teenage millennial son with her knowledge of Beatles trivia. She's telling him about the original drummer for the Beatles and what happened to him next. And AJ is understandably just it's because he was listening to a Beatles song, and so she memorized a bunch of Beatles trivia to impress him, and he's why are you telling me this stuff?
She's trying to connect with her son. She loves him very much.
Put down the note, this is the only time we saw the Bada Bing in our watching of these 3 episodes.
We were in the back room at the Bing, I think, in other episodes. We were in the back room at the beginning.
Okay, I don't think it was set up. This was the first time I
you saw it. It's the first time you saw titties. Yeah, okay.
You want to explain the Bada Bing?
Bada Bing. The Bada Bing is owned by Syl. It's a strip club, and they conduct a lot of their business out of the back room of the Bing. But they also are just hanging out during the daytime a lot at the Bing. And so there's lots of strippers. They filmed this on location at a strip club called Satin Dolls, which I used to drive by on my way to work every day. I didn't drive there to work because I did not work at the strip club, but I worked at an insurance agency that was on the way.
Satin Dolls was a working strip club while they were filming, and so they would just kind of work out.
They loved the business they got from it, and they
presumably still get a lot of business from it.
Yeah. I think Satin Dolls is still open.
I'm surprised they didn't change their name to the Bada Bing.
Closed. Hang on.
I just have the note here, and I don't even know which part prompted this of just AJ sucks. But I do think that's a little bit of I don't know, all teens kind of suck.
And AJ particularly sucks.
When Christopher goes over to manipulate Feech into taking stolen goods, there's just the very funny thing that he's sitting on a porch and he's like, oh yeah, I'm just having my wine and peaches. Just that, that classic afternoon porch snack. Just a wine and a large bowl of peaches.
It's real, my grandma's generation of Italian. Satin Dolls still open, 3.4 stars on Google.
The last thing I wanted to talk about, which we didn't talk about in the other ones, is the end credit songs and kind of music in Sopranos generally. The music supervision was very good in The Sopranos. They heavily used pre-recorded songs, like licensed songs, but they rarely used obvious ones. We were just talking with some friends about kind of our pet peeves with licensed music in shows. And I didn't mention this, but one of mine is just when they use like a famous song. Like, I don't know, do we need The Sound of Silence in another TV show? Like, I don't need to hear a song I've heard 8 million times. You're not showing me anything new. You're just being like, I can afford this song. And The Sopranos could afford that stuff, but they mostly highlighted kind of, I think, lesser known and more interesting choices. And so the end credits were always a different song, and a lot of them were very interesting. There's a song by the singer-songwriter Casey Chambers called The Captain that I found on a Sopranos end credits, and it's still in my playlist. It just came up on shuffle this week, and it's a very enjoyable song. I recommend you look it up. So yeah, just the music supervision was very good.
That's an HBO thing too, I think.
Yeah, but it was also like
a Sopranos thing specifically.
And the end credits music having like a different song and having the choice of that song be really thought through.
Do we want to talk about the writing and the directing?
Oh yeah, written by Tony Kalem. Primarily an actor. She played Big Pussy's wife.
Yeah.
This is one of only 4 writing credits she has on IMDb.
She was in the writing room a bunch, though.
Yeah, well, usually if you get a script, that means you were in the writing room. But I think this is her only credited Sopranos episode. She was only 50 years old when Sopranos ended, but she has absolutely no credited work as an actor or a writer in the industry since. So I can't speak to what she was doing. Maybe she moved into theater or something, or maybe she decided to take an early retirement with Sopranos money, or maybe family life came up. But Sopranos was kind of the end of her run on TV and film. It was directed by Rodrigo Garcia. The notable thing about Rodrigo Garcia is he is married to Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum's sister.
Oh.
He is Claudia Sheinbaum's brother-in-law. He directed a lot of independent movies in Mexico, I believe, and also English language movies here. This is the only Sopranos he directed, but he directed a number of other HBO shows. Now he mostly makes independent films. Kind of both an interesting writer and an interesting director in that we have an actor who didn't write much, and we have the Mexican president's brother-in-law directing. Do you have anything else on this, the most middle of episodes?
I liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was... Let's go to our future selves. Go. Hi, everyone. We are in the future. We are here to answer your Sopranos questions, of which we did not get a ton. So I will take this time to admit that I got everyone's name wrong in the Sopranos episode. Just like left and right, actors' names, characters' names, and I edited it all out. So you didn't hear that, but I was just getting everyone's name wrong.
Yeah. The original cut that we first listened to, Joseph called her Eddie Falco.
I immediately corrected myself.
You called her...
You didn't have to correct me. I said Eddie Falco and then immediately said Edie Falco. My brain made it come out.
I will also say that I got wrong why this specific Gumar was the one that set Carmela on off about...
It wasn't because she called the house?
It wasn't because she called the house. It was because her press-on nail ended up in Tony's clothes and she found it.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I looked into all the history of the Gumars because I realized I was going off of memory, and a lot of the Gumars kind of conflate for me because Gloria is sort of the big one. There's also, with the catching on fire stuff, it goes back to Tony's mom because there's like in the second episode, I think the first or second episode, it might be the pilot, where Tony's mom is cooking and sets the house on fire, and like this Gumar setting herself on fire parallels that. I also think there's something with Gloria, that Gumar was setting herself on fire, or I think she hangs herself, but there's definitely like a cooking incident. I'm trying to remember. Anyway, I got to go back and watch it because my Gumar knowledge it's not solid.
I indicated a willingness to watch it with you and in the main episode. We have some questions from Jacob. The first one is about Doctor Who and is so frankly specific that we just don't have enough Doctor Who knowledge to answer it. I think it's about sort of the change in tone from classic Who to the early days of the reboot to the modern days of the reboot. And I will admit, I have not seen a single bit of classic Who and none of the recent seasons. I think I watched to the end of Matt Smith and not past that. And so I just don't feel, and you didn't really ever watch it.
I watched some Matt Smith and I watched the other guy, David Tennant.
Okay. So you watched some of the early revival, but I just don't feel like we have the knowledge of Doctor Who to be answering specific questions about a change in tone.
After we do Doctor Who, after I do my research, sure. I'll come back to you with it.
Yeah, Jacob, come back to us.
Do you want to ask me a question about like a calzone or about like a stromboli or about like Big Ziti, about like other items you would have like in a hot tray at a confirmation or communion or a christening? We could talk about that.
Actually, let's talk about this. Gabagool. So, I think most people, I certainly did, coming to New York, because I minored in Italian in college, and I spent like a month or two in Rome at like an Italian immersion school. And so I was very snobby about North Jersey Italian, because words are pronounced very differently. There's a lot of cutting off of words. Instead of mozzarella, it's
mozzarella.
Instead of capicola, it's
gabagool.
And so it just was confusing, I think, if you only know like modern, like traditional Italian. But then we have come to learn, and possibly you already knew this, and I came to learn it, is that the version of Italian spoken in North Jersey is a dialect, I believe, from Sicily. I think it's a Sicilian dialect, but it is a dialect that is older than modern Italian. It is a consistent dialect. It is a dialect that no longer exists in Italy, the country, but it has a very consistent way it pronounces words, the cutting off of endings, the changing of certain letters. So it is not only a consistent, real version of Italian, but it is a version of Italian that is older than the Italian spoken in Italy.
Then there's all just the Italian words for things.
Yeah, can you take us through some of those? Because some of these I Googled and could not find, and so I think maybe it's just your...
Ciacciarese.
Yeah.
It's like a chatterbox.
Uh-huh.
Same thing as a chiacchierone.
I Googled these and could not find any evidence of them existing outside of your family. Did you ever hear another family use those terms?
Yes.
Okay.
I could say to another Italian-American person that he's a real chiacchierone, and they would know what I'm talking about.
Okay. Now, what is it when it's someone's dirty?
Schifaz.
Schifaz, yeah.
Schifaz. What other ones do we have? There's stunad, which just means you're stupid.
Mm-hmm.
There's jadrul, which is cucumber, but it also means you're stupid.
I mean, of course, there's paisan.
There's paisan.
There's a few wildly offensive ones.
There's some racial and ethnic slurs for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So gabagool. I hope you learned something today, or maybe you already knew this, that we should be taking gabagool seriously as a word and as a language. Yeah. Jacob has a question about the parallel of the shift from Golden Age to Premiere TV with comic books. That comic books used to have these long-running titles spanning decades and multiple creative teams. Now they do these short runs spanning a few years at most with one creative team per run. And kind of comparing this idea of TV that has to look like movies and comic books that have to feel like lovingly created graphic novels. This tension between having to deliver a kind of one-of-a-kind product, but over and over again, that it puts an immense amount of pressure on artists to deliver much more detailed art in comic books. Do you think the drivers behind these trends are the same, and do you think it's sustainable? And if not, what is the path forward?
I think I think it's evolution of art. And is sustainable? No, it would be sustainable if anyone believed in paying for art.
Or hiring enough people.
Yeah.
Like, sure, you can have super detailed art if you hire enough artists that they have time to do it.
It's always going to be the triangle of good, fast, and cheap. You can pick two. So yeah, it does not. This will not hold. This evolution of art cannot continue to evolve unless people are willing to pay for it, and they're not. So I don't know what we do. People are going to make a bunch of AI slop, and
Yeah.
that is where the art is going to go.
Yeah, because it's this trajectory of people want the same level of quality, but faster and with less people working on it. Like they want their TV to be the exact same amount of TV as they were getting in the 70s and 80s, but they want it all to look like it could be on the big screen in a movie theater, and that's just
to have
not possible.
Just a tremendous amount of script craft, of set craft, of art, the acting craft, the high caliber of acting. We're shooting on incredible cameras, we're editing, we're using the greatest tech we have. Like that, they want everything needs to be, because we've gotten to this point where we can do these things, but we cannot do these things without the money. And people don't have it, and then also we've just been conditioned to not pay for art.
Yeah, we've spent the last 25 years conditioning ourselves that art should just kind of show up without us having to pay for it.
Yeah. And there's only so many, unless there's a new way we can figure out how to pay for art. It's just going to go, it's the evolution of it will stop, and it will go the direction of AI making it, which is so fucking expensive. AI itself is so fucking expensive and so fucking draining on the world.
And not good.
But yeah, but it is skinned in that this is the future, and this,
I don't think so. I think the bubble's about to burst.
I hope so. I do. But yeah, it's just not possible. It's not possible to make these TV shows. It's not possible to make these books. It's not possible to do it without appropriate funding.
You could just think about, like, as you said, acting. So part of the reason that TV acting was maybe not doing the same thing as movie acting is, with TV acting, if you have 25 episodes a season, oftentimes you're getting that script like a day or two before you're shooting.
And you're doing it live in front of a studio audience.
Yeah.
You're doing it once. You're doing one take.
One take with a script that you have had a day or two to look at.
Yeah, and maybe a take or two to fix a flub or to fix this, but you get one shot at it.
Yeah.
Ideally, you get one shot at it. If you're fucking it up and taking more shots at it, you're not going to continue to work.
Whereas a movie, not only do you get that script 2 or 3 years before it's being filmed, but then there's often weeks or months of rehearsal before a camera is ever even involved. So it's just, you have so much more time to prep, but now
you're working with a dialect coach, you're working with movement coaches, you're working with, like, you're doing research, you're digging into these characters. Whereas, you're handed a rewrite, right before you're about to go on stage.
Like they're about to film and they're like, oh yeah, we completely rewrote the scene here.
Yeah. So yeah, it is just this. Yeah, it is requiring less of the actor's time for sure, but it is.
But yeah, that's where now we want people to be able to deliver movie level performances, but at the speed of TV.
Yeah,
and it's just, all it's doing is putting more pressure on the artist without giving them what they need to do that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Jeremy Strong, it's your whole life that gets taken over by that. You got to adequately compensate him for that. And then whenever you pay Jeremy Strong, you're also paying his reps, you're paying his union. Like it's a big cost to make these things. I mean, as it should be, there should be union fees for sure. Unless you want to have universal health care, we got to make it so that actors can have health insurance. So, so you got to pay these union fees. And then there's the reps that have to get paid as well, because their work is important too. So
we used to have a goddamn union. Okay, let's go to our past selves. Gabagool. And we're back. Can you take us into the Littlest?
The Littlest. Okay, so would we let our 4-year-old daughter watch an episode of The Sopranos? No. Would we let her watch an episode of The Sopranos when she is age appropriate for it? If you're my family, you deem age appropriate for it as 13 years old.
I was going to say
8. It would be 8 if the show existed when I was 8. But no, apparently it's 13. So yeah, if Iris is a teen or, older who wants to watch this, I will definitely tell her about it.
My question for you, because I mean, the answer is obvious now. No, and no, she wouldn't like it. But because this is a show that is so about where you're from, is this a show you're going to want to show her? Like, are you going to want to actively reach out and be like, if you want to know more about where I come from, this is a show about that.
This is a show made for me and for all of the good people of New Jersey. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, possibly. I feel like I can like see myself in the future being like, Sopranos, we gotta watch it. It's where mommy's from. And like just her not giving any bit of a shit about it and it not holding up in any way at all. Like I just see that. I see that for us. So
Yeah. But overall, we wouldn't show her and she would find it alternately boring and scary. So that's Littlest. Thank you so much for listening to our show, for supporting our show, for being you.
and for the people out there who are listening who are from New Jersey, I love you.
Yeah, this one's especially for you. Join us next week with The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I'm excited to watch that show for the very first time in my life.
Oh, honey.
I watched Wild Wild West. Listened to the Wild Wild West rap.
Did you watch The Men in Black?
Oh, I loved Men in Black. Did I have Men in Black on DVD? I might have had Men in Black on DVD.
All right.
I was a Will Smith fan. I think this was just early enough that it was before my parents were letting me really watch TV at all. See ya.
Bye.
Okay, that was the Middlest for The Sopranos. To hear the Middlest episodes for all of the other shows we've covered and to get ad-free versions of our main episodes, head on over to our Patreon. It is linked in our show notes. $5 a month, the Middlest, and ad-free episodes. Thank you so much, and see you next week for Happy Days.